Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal podcast for Kamen Rider Zero-One. I'm Vashi V, and joining me today is...
Right.
And zero.
Welcome to Kamen Rider Zero-One, episode 21. Okay. So, we move on to the third challenge between Hiden Intelligence and Zaya Enterprise, wherein it is a court trial with the Zaya specs representing the prosecution and a Humagear as the defense. The accused recently got engaged, wherein she later received a text from him saying that the wedding needs $3 million. She withdrew the money from her account and deposited into the specified one, and was later approached saying that it was a scam account that she sent the money to. She even found a post from her fiance on social media bragging about how he scammed her out of the money. He denied the allegations and is now standing trial for it.
The preface for this, with what we were given with the preview versus how it is actually playing out, this is a lot better of a point for a challenge than I expected it to be. Because with the way, it all goes, it's more he didn't do it, so that, and the human gear believes him, so let's, go through with the cases, rather than it's just trying to get a guilty guy to be declared innocent. It's a lot better of a premise than it initially appeared to be.
This is a lot closer to the Phoenix Wright thing of he believes in his clients.
And who better to believe in his client than, somebody who's a walking lie detector?
Oh god. Okay. So yeah, that's a good point. Also, lie detectors are fucking bullshit.
Well,
right?
actual lie detectors are, but he has different methods.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, actual lie detectors are so fucking shit and unreliable. They're not even considered
they test how
evidence
nervous you are, right? So if you can just stay calm.
Not even that. No, they don't.
There's new ones now.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because it used to be it would register your heartbeat. That was the polygraph test.
Yeah.
Which they still get used, but they're inadmissible in court. Actually, all lie detector tests are inadmissible in court because they are unreliable.
There's too much variance, and people can lie. Basically, a lie detector test is a measurement of differences, right? And so the thing is, like, if you're nervous, it's gonna throw off your results, and if you're lying, it's gonna. Okay, if you're perfectly not guilty, and you should be fine, and if you're lying, it should show up. The problem is, like, people freak out, and people are different, and you have to be like a real super expert. And okay, even with all that, like, even if you get an expert and they know the person and it's very specific and the person's not freaking out, it's barely above 50-50, right? It's basically coin flip odds. That's how bad lie detectors are. So, like, the courts are like, this is not worth anything, because, like, imagine, like, deciding a court case on a coin flip. Like, that's what a lie detector. That's why they got thrown out. Like, the polygraphs are not reliable.
The biggest issue with them is anything and everything can skew the results. You could be the most has anybody driven a car?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You're following every law there is. Every traffic law, to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get nervous when a cop pulls in behind you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. Like, fuck, it doesn't even have to be that.
Like that, but just
But
something
that's a good
that
point.
if something that simple is going to set you off, set off your nerves. Imagine being questioned by police or anybody in an official matter for anything remotely criminal.
Right, exactly. I mean, fuck that. Like, imagine just a siren, right? Like, you don't even see a cop. It could be a goddamn ambulance or fire truck or whatever. You don't know, but you'll freak the fuck out, right? If you're in a car. Now, imagine, hey, murder. Here, put these wires on. Make sure you don't lie.
Like
um, say, oh,
I walk
actually, here's
to
a better one, right? Like, the polygraph actually kind of measures like heart rate and like blood pressure and stuff, right? Like, here's the biggest thing. Like, I can never relax whenever somebody's doing my blood pressure check, so it's always high, which means I would basically always fail the fucking lie detector test, right? Because it would always be skewed.
It's like hell. I walk to and from work, and I'm nervous when a cop is anywhere near me, and I don't do anything illegal.
Right, especially with like Japan, man, like the fucking insane conviction rate. Um, oh, right. Also, I kind of screwed up last time. I was talking about like how, um, if a person is convicted, no, that's not what I meant. It's what I was actually trying to say is like even if a person is like suspected, but then they're acquitted, so they're let go of the crime, it still like damages your reputation. Um, So like we will kind of get into that, but like this is a very sanitized version of this cake. Yeah, it's very Ace Attorney. Um, but again, it's a really interesting way of doing it, where it's like the guy, everybody suspects he did it because somebody framed him, and his lawyer is the only one who trusts him. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That was an interesting take on this. But um, I mean, we'll get into that. Like, there's stuff going on in this trial. But yeah, like that's a possibility we didn't consider last time. But yeah, that's interesting. It's also interesting that like the trial is for like fraud and it's for money. So I'm like, oh, I guess that explains how like we tired into like Zaya Industries because like if it was something serious like murder or something, it's
Right.
like
We all jumped to
like
the murder case.
right because it's fucking Ryder, right? Like fucking Shinji, what, right? Like, oh, did you like kill that guy? No, a mirror monster fucking ate him. But like
But if
Shinji,
I
you
tell
went
you
in,
that, like,
yeah, like you went in, Shinji. He didn't come out. What happened, right? Uh, and so, like, it explains why this is like it's a serious case, but it's also kind of tied to business a little bit with like fraud and money. So it would explain how you can get like Zaya and stuff like tying back to business, I guess. For like these are supposed to be like business competitions and stuff, sort of. I'm like, I guess okay, that's a pretty decent way of putting it in. Also, it's good ways of showing it. It's like, well, you can get a robot lawyer or you can get a human lawyer with our tech who would be better to represent you, right? And like that's actually a really good demonstration of like products. Well, I mean, like in a really cynical way of doing it. Like that's a pretty good demonstration. Like which product is better, a human upgraded or just a perfect AI, or as perfect as it can be at this point, right?
and it should be worth noting that when Bowser was presenting the challenge, Aruto didn't even want to accept it at first. And even Izo was advocating like, nah, this isn't fair. This is clearly stacked against us. And it was Bingo, the Human Gear attorney, that was like, no, we can win this.
Like
Yeah,
and
I do
and at least that was a very legitimate response from Artonizu. Because 100%, this is stacked against him based on the evidence and all the everything involved in it. It's
Aruto
100%
felt it was
stacked
morally
against him.
wrong to use a trial that will affect a man's life as part of their challenge, and Izo was like, this is rigged.
Right. It's like Aruto's response is very Aruto and very accurate in a morally upstanding person. You, having somebody's literal life being on the line, or life slash well being, depending, 'cause probably not going to be an execution for fraud. But yeah, it's like it's very Aruto to go. Yeah, no, no, no. This isn't a game. This is something serious, and it should be considered and handled seriously. And then Izu 100% going, yeah, no, you're up to some shit. No. And at least one of the two realizes he's up to some shit. May not be the correct shit.
I mean, to be fair, that scene was so good because like everybody's in. Oh, I mean, maybe not Yua, but fuck it, she's kind of on a decline lately. But like everybody else in that scene was so in character. That's amazing. More of that shit, please. Um,
So, prosecution makes their statement about the order of events of how the accused scammed his girlfriend, and uh, Bingo steps up to argue that he couldn't have sent that text asking for the money because here is footage of him at a comedy show at the time from the perspective of the Human Gear comedian.
Which, I'm sorry, that 100%, that should have dropped the case.
Objection!
Kinda. You still have to no. Um, but
Well,
like
because
you
the whole,
technically
the
have
whole
to
proof was
put.
the fact that he did it.
No, no, no.
Well,
I know, but the point is, um, first you have to enter evidence in. Like there are procedures. This was the opening statement, right? So at least it needs to go opening statements, present your thing, then closing. So there's at least like a minimum of 3 steps, right? Um, but well, I mean like 4 if there's a jury. Um, right. But the thing there is like technically it looks open and shut, but the problem becomes there's tech on this side and tech on the other side, right? Um, well, this is your written record saying, "Hey, you did it." It's ridiculous, like on the nose. Like, why would you confess? But then again, human beings are dumb as fuck. So yeah, people do stupid shit like this.
like I and I also understand the flip side of my argument is like, yeah, he was at that at theirs, like, but he could have had accomplices,
Yeah,
considering that the account that all the money went into was a shared account for scammers.
right. I was actually gonna say there's that, and then the other perspective is, yeah, like well, what I was gonna say, there's a conflict of interest, is because, hey, look, this is your robot lawyer using footage from your robot comedian to win your client's case that your company's
I I
reputation
think
rides
that
on.
was actually the prosecution's argument against it.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Though
Um,
I will point out that I already know a way that he could have done it anyways, considering it's something I can physically do on my phone anyways. You can schedule a text message.
yeah,
Wait, you
that's true.
can? Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did. Because um back when Pixie had her accident, she had new meds that she had to take, so I had a scheduled reminder set for like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning when she would normally get up to start her day to get her son off to school. I would, I had it scheduled to send her a message to remind her to take her meds.
I will say though that if you're going to suggest that the accused had an accomplice, you need to bring evidence saying that there was an accomplice before you start throwing that shit around. Because otherwise, you could accuse anyone of any crime.
Well, true, but the only remote evidence that there would be for that, at least at the moment that we have, is the fact that the money was put into account that was for a scammer group.
right. Also, if there's an accomplice, the like the prosecuting attorney doesn't have to bring that up. Like the defense attorney has to now go and find somebody to pin this on. right? Because like the prosecutor would be like, so what? You're just an accessory then. Like, okay, you don't get the full charge, you get half. You know,
Right, because
right?
like, because if you're involved but not, if you're just an accomplice and or an accessory or whatever, is like you're still guilty of a crime.
Exactly. So
So,
like,
and on that, the
so the
the
prosecution,
Okay.
like,
the
they don't.
prosecution would bring that up, and the prosecution would then go after the other people involved. It's the defense attorney to go, yeah, no, he had nothing to do with these people.
Yeah. So it is part of the prosecution's argument is that evidence of the text being sent is on the accused phone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, to be fair, like the court stuff is pretty good because it's like they're both kind of right.
Oh, I'm more
Where
interested in that than the fight we have, and we got a good
that's
fight this
me too.
episode.
I mean, like the fight. Oh man, we're gonna get into that shit because I feel like there's so much going on behind the scenes here. Um, but yeah, like honestly, for as down as we thought this episode would be, aside from like maybe two scenes, two or three, yeah, basically like two scenes. Um, Everything else in this episode is pretty solid. Um, but yeah, like the courtroom stuff is actually fairly weighted. Like it's not super heated, but it's like intense enough that it's like, well, they're both kind of right, but like one of them has to be wrong, and then they both have to like double down and present their case, which is a good setup for part one of a two-parter, right? Um, anyway.
Okay, so after the courtroom, they're in the parking lot when, surprise, a raid riser appears to attack Bingo. Now, there's a lot of speculation about who the monster could be, but I'd like to point out who the fuck was the human that's been with Bingo this whole time? Because he walked away off camera right before the monster showed up.
I actually missed that.
Who would that be?
Like, is he
I mean,
like. There's a human that's like with Bingo. He hasn't said anything, so I don't even know if he's just an assistant
oh,
or kind of like a supervisor to make sure that like Bingo is working properly or whatever. But he when they're underground in the parking lot. He walks away, and then the monster shows up.
okay, so that's who you suspect it is.
Yeah, that's who I
Okay,
think it actually is. I don't think
okay,
it's the
Vashi,
prosecutor.
who do you think it is?
Like I would accept that, and it would make sense too, with even with how everything plays out later with the Zaya spec, because it literally is just 100% a setup. Like if it's if it's not
Yeah,
who it was
it's a
led
lawyer
to
story. Like
believe.
clearly, it's a red herring. Like it's
Oh
too
yeah, I
obvious
think I
to
think
not.
that's the theme of this episode is like someone's being set up.
Right. I
Right,
mean, like it's
like
about fraud, so I guess it makes sense. But
It's
yeah,
like the first two challenges is like okay, the Zyspec representative turned into the monster, right? So now that establishes a pattern for us to believe that that would happen here with the prosecutor, which is why which is what they want us to think, which is why it's not the prosecutor.
yeah. There's no way it's the prosecutor. Um, I feel like it's also interesting. Okay, this is one of those weird things where it's like the episode is fairly solid, except for this scene with Bingo, and then one later on, where it's like barely anything happens. Bingo basically starts flipping his shit, right? And I'm
I
like, what?
I hey,
At one moment, I'm like, okay, maybe that's like the episode being lazily written,
Zero.
or maybe
What
it's
you are
just that
calling
moment.
him flipping his shit is him fearing for his life when he is suddenly being attacked violently.
I
and
A
guess,
guy is
but he
literally holding a gun to his head.
he's a robot though.
He
it's like
can
this
still
is
die.
No, it does. No, it okay. Like, yeah,
I,
but the point
I'm
is like
gonna clear
human
this up
logic does
very
not
easily.
apply to human gear.
I,
Like all
I,
the other human gear don't give a shit.
Fashy?
I'm going to clear this up very easily, and I'll use Bingo's own words for it. this is not where the fighting should be taking place.
Yeah, I know. It's
So
I
him,
just
he's
wish that
viewing
scene
it.
was better done.
This right. It's like,
It's
but
a
this
bit
is
of
him
yeah.
viewing this. This is him viewing that the monster attacking him is human or being sent by a human to alter the course of the trial,
Yeah.
which is compound. It's very much you're cheating in a trial. This is morally and ethically wrong. What the fuck?
He's also
Right.
a
I
defense attorney. He tries to see the best in humanity, so for this to be happening is baffling to him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's just the way that the episode portrays that scene. It's just like it freaks out a little bit and then it goes like fuck this. And then I'm like, okay, like that's a human reaction, but you're not a human.
Okay, but we had the arc establishing that the human gear gain emotions when they gain fucking singularity.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I do feel like this guy's closer because, like, later on in the thing, he go like, guy basically says like Humagita should be destroyed, and it's like you want to just kill me.
Yeah, you think I should die?
Yeah, I think you should like right like that's a good moment. It's just I feel like this one should have been rewritten. Like personally, I would have rewritten this up that scene to make
Uh,
it a little less ambiguous. But otherwise, yeah, we can definitely see where like his mentality came from.
then we
Um,
get a.
no, no, no. I mean, we get still got time. Vashi, who do you think it is?
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah.
Like
So
I'm still torn on who it is. It's like because they're the you know it could very much be we're gonna make you think it's a red herring and it's not, and it's evil Mister prosecutor man.
Double fake. Yeah.
Yeah, the double fake out, which it that would be a very good twist with this. But
Um,
I think they'd have to build it up just a little bit more that it could be somebody else beyond the fact of Bingo thinking he wasn't lying.
yeah. So I didn't even notice that Bingo had like somebody helping him, so I never put
mm,
that together. Um, who I actually thought it was is the girlfriend or wife,
oh,
fiance.
fiance. That'd be
Yeah.
good.
Um, because the monster has a skirt, right, or like something, and I'm like,
Oh,
because like the Rider monsters, like they
Oh yeah,
never
it's
put
kind of like a
female things.
dress or
Yeah, it's
like
got like a something wrap around, right?
dude, if
And like
if that's the case, then we're literally getting Yellow Buster versus Ho Ho Shield
oh soldier,
or what?
are
Oh,
we?
yeah, Ho Ho Soldier. Why the fuck did I say Shield?
because
Nice.
that's his henshin device. It's a big fuck off shield.
um, yeah, it's basically because I feel like okay, like Ryder has this thing like they never give a monster female characteristics unless they have like a female villain, right? Like they never add anything feminine because like that's extra work on a monster suit. Like why would you do that? Um,
Yeah, don't
It
tell
only I'm
Sentai that.
looking at it again though, but and
right.
it only hangs down the back. It doesn't cover the front.
Yeah, I know it. So I'm like maybe that's the, but then like some other things happen where it's like she clearly just sets him up to fail like the cops are ready. I'm like okay, that's a little trigger happy. And two, she had like 3 million lying around that she just like handed over. I'm like whoa, there's like no indication she's that rich, so I'm like where did you get the money? So I feel
Oh,
like she's actually the scam artist.
like she did some money laundering, and this is how she's getting away with it.
Yeah, kind of. Either she's like money laundering or like insurance fraud or something's going on here. So I feel like she's not entirely clean. So I'm leaning on it being the fiance at this moment, but I don't know because like it could be like three different people, which is an interesting setup.
like to further going into it being, Yellow Buster, because that's who's playing the fiance. For those of you who aren't keeping track, um, I would love it to be her with the backstory. Is like, yeah, she's the one who set him up. Like she herself was this, and it's a retarded, asinine thought process to do, but she basically scammed herself to set his ass up. Because
Right.
there's ways that they could do it to where it would work out well.
Well, like what I actually want is this to go even deeper, where it's like, oh, you think he's just some good kid who got scammed, and she's like the scam artist. But I'm like, I feel like it's gonna be revealed that he's not like a super nice guy, which will complicate shit.
He actually
But then
does have
like,
a criminal history, but this is the one
well,
thing he didn't do.
okay, that'd be funny, but no. What I meant like is he's slightly a scumbag, um, or
Oh,
something, or um, maybe like one of his, maybe something's happening with the fiance, and like he got set up with something there, or like like there's so many angles, right? Like either he has a criminal past, or
like
the fiance's got something going on, or maybe she's just a con artist, which is weird to put it into public, but like
like
maybe
he
there's like a money laundering or insurance fraud or something going on.
like he
Uh,
stole the ring that he proposed to her with, and she knew
oh
it,
god.
but she couldn't prove it, so she set herself up with the money scam to get him arrested for that instead.
Or maybe he actually is a scam artist, like you said, except he doesn't do it for the money. He's just a pickup artist, and this is just hyper revenge.
God, that would be
God,
great.
okay,
Like
this is
there are ways that
actually.
they can do this really, really fucking well.
Oh God,
Yeah.
and half of them are actually a Phoenix Wright case.
It's true. Oh my god.
Also, am I the only one who is? I We all knew he was going to be in the suit because he's a lawyer, but it was nice to see Suguri dressed up again.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
actor is. I gotta give the actor credit for his work in Key Ranger because he puts as much passion into this as he did into that, and it
Yeah.
And
works.
and while like initially he wasn't the greatest character in Q Ranger, he's what made that character amazing.
Oh yeah, he was easily one of the better ones by the end of it.
Nice. Also, while watching this, as interesting as we've thrown out the super interesting Phoenix Wright meets Kamen Rider thing, like, would this have been like the better version of that damn Ryuki episode from Decade with the
Yes.
lawyer shit? Like,
Trial by
also,
Rider is still the stupidest thing I've seen in Kamen Rider.
oh god, it's so dumb.
But I haven't watched Ghost yet, so.
Dude, nothing in Ghost is that stupid.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's like stupid shit, but like nothing that damn stupid. Um, but also, I was really fucking. I'm like, god damn it, man! If we could only get like Itawa, like for something,
Right,
like he would
like.
be the like if
Like,
he got the specs, like he would have been the perfect defense attorney character, right?
yeah, like, alright, so Kidoka is running the defense, but the criminal is actually guilty, and so, like, one of the other
Oh, I
people
mean,
comes
or
around.
prosecution. Actually, you know
No,
what?
he was a
No, he's
defense
not a
attorney.
prosecutor. He's a defense attorney. You're right.
Yeah, so, like, imagine he's running the defense, the guy is actually guilty, he's gonna get him off, and the other people know that, so, like, one of them becomes a riot to fucking take out his lawyer so that the guy can go to jail like he's supposed to. And that was the. Imagine if that was the plot for that episode.
Dude, that'd be pretty good. This is like one of those. I mean, I know Zero-One's trying to like break continuity from Heisei or like leave it aside as much as possible, but man, this one of those times it would have been super nice to see like an old writer come back.
To
So
be fair, we've been getting a lot of veteran actors this year.
Yeah,
we have like every
Uh,
couple of episodes it seems, and through both shows too.
yeah, we're
yeah.
mainly Ryu Soldier. Because we got Akiko chan from Double, we got Sawa from Build.
Dude, Sao's in everything, right? Like, they can't get rid of her. She just lives in the damn parking lot. We know.
She's got a trailer that just takes up 2 parking spaces.
And there's a sign on it, knock when needed.
Work for food? Oh my, oh my god.
Oh, that's horrible.
So I thought of something just now.
Oh, what's up?
I really wish they wouldn't have done a trial. And I really wish they wouldn't have, considering the fact that now we have to talk about getting somebody off while Thousand Island's running
Well,
around
it's going
jacking
in-
off people.
You know what the worst part about that stupid thing is? That sword is fucking awesome. It's
Yeah.
like the dumbest gimmick of all time.
He literally jabs it into their belt buckles to jack them off. Like, I don't understand how that got through.
Look, the only thing more...
It's called the
that they
Jack
received-
Rise.
Yeah, I know. But I think that's reference to, like, Blade's one, because it looks like Blade's one. But the fucking motion, I'm like, the only thing that's even close to this insanity is Kiva's sword. At least that thing glows. Right? So I can kind of give it a pass. Fuck this. So dumb.
Alright.
Also, I wish he would have... Like, he's so busted. Like, why does he need to steal other people's attacks? I mean, it gives the weaker form something to do, which is show up...
Show
and
off
then
a
have their
new
powers
finisher.
stolen.
Yeah, like
Right.
they literally exist to get jacked off, and that's it.
It's just to show off a new
Yep.
finisher.
Which is kind of a waste, honestly. Like, as strong as the forms are in the show, they don't feel that strong. I mean, which kind of keeps the intensity level matched to the show, but it's like it kind of negates the point of having a power up. Right? They might as well just be in base form doing this. Right? Like Thouser's basically in base form and it works fine for him.
Like I would have been much better with him using the other powers if he just snatched the keys from Aruto. Like or Fua, or anybody who's around him. Like I would have been okay with that over the, hey, I'm gonna use this form that I know is weaker than my main form, the main form that I've been fighting him against him at, but I'm gonna try and use it anyways.
I know, like it'd be fine if he did a strategic, like in this episode. Okay, the fire ring as like a containment thing. I'm like, okay, that's a smart move. It took a couple hits to get to that smart move, but okay, at least they reasoned it. Usually they don't though. But yeah, as for like Thouser, like yeah, he shouldn't be like hitting them. It should just be kind of like an Ixa situation where it's like Kiva just summons his thing and then like Ixa just hijacks it. With like, it's fucking computers and shit. Just make Thouser a hacker.
Well, I
it's
mean,
fine.
they kind of did. He runs Metsubo.
Yeah. that's true. I guess we can get into them unless there's anything else.
Yes, Izu's getting sassier with each episode, and I love it.
God, Sassy Izu is amazing.
Yeah, Izu's great. Fua, honestly, like Fua's gotten really good. I didn't like his dumbass gorilla face, but it was for that Izu moment, so I let it pass. But yeah, she's freaking great. I also love
I still
oh
don't-
no, there's a problem. It's like, what with my joke? No, with the monster.
I still don't know what's better for Sassy Izu here lately. Either the let's call Fua gorilla, or her little snarl growl thing she did.
I think I like the gorilla call out better than the growl thing because the growl thing gave her too much personality. I'm like, I feel like she's not at that level yet.
So there is one more thing about the who is the monster argument. Evidence that points it to being the prosecutor is that they found his Zaya spec after the monster ran away, and the prosecutor was, of course, missing his and had to get a new one. Evidence that it's not him is that He says it's not him, and Bingo believes him with his lie detector. Now, personally, I don't think it's him because he's the first guy in all these challenges to for Dowser to give his you better not fail this because it could ruin your career" speech, and the prosecutor just looks at him and goes, "I don't fucking need this. I can back out, dude."
Right? He's so good.
Like that to me is the most solidifying aspect of it not being him, because he literally is like, I don't have to do this.
Right. Like he has like a perfect record. Oh, I mean, maybe not, but like he could back out anytime he wants. Which is great. Also, like the specs are 100% just a red herring. Like there's no way he just leaves it so obviously, especially pointing to him.
Oh yeah, totally.
Um
They were stolen from
Oh,
him or something.
what if it's that guy who Fua goes to talk to? Because like his whole department's run by AI, and then he's that one human dude. I'm like, you're like, why? Why did we introduce a whole new character in this whole department? Like, you have to play a part in this somehow.
Yeah, he
Unless
was the
maybe becoming a
he
recurring character, or you're gonna be in the
he
second episode.
he was the arresting officer of the accused.
No, I know, but that doesn't make sense in like that scene
He,
doesn't make sense.
right,
There's
he's
too many
there's
extras.
got to be something else because like Fua, you're right. Fua gave the evidence to someone else, and then this guy shows up with it instead. It's like what the fuck.
Right? Like something's going on. Um, yeah, he has to play a part. Also, like, um, it is great that he like the prosecutor is lying 100%. It's like, oh, those aren't mine. It was stolen. Like bullshit. Like you definitely you didn't it didn't get stolen. You either handed it to someone or you placed it there yourself. But like he's such a top-notch lawyer that you can't tell that he's lying. Like even the machines can't tell that he's lying. I'm like, that's a good character moment, honestly.
So Arto goes and gets to talk to Hirobi and asks him a few questions. Basically, what the fuck? And the answer Hirobi gives him is to summarize that the Humagears are choosing to go out of control when they experience human malice.
Yeah, I like his response. It's basically like Arto's all like, oh, he believes in the human gear because like interacting with good people, it can bring out the better in them. And then Hirobe is like the flip side. Like we only i- react because that's the way humanity has, you know, interacted with us or taught us. So it's like the other side. It's like, yeah, this malice is here because humans are fucking assholes, right? Bad shit will continue to happen, which kind of proves Bowser's point a little bit, where it's like, yeah, like you can't rely on the robots because human beings are dicks, which will cause the robots to rebel, which is kind of a bullshit. Well, it's not bullshit. Like it's fair, or no, it's not fair. It's truthful, but it's like, why are you killing the robots for humanity's problems? But like he has a point. Like that's the blanket solution of like, okay, as long as humans and robots interact, the robots will rebel. So we can't have robots because it's gonna happen eventually. I'm like, I can kind of see the logic in that, but it's like a really like one-sided argument, especially because you've got like a vested interest in your technology succeeding, right, and taking over. So it's like you're clearly bullshitting everybody else to buy your point of view. Especially because of what the fuck he does this episode, right, Vashi?
right, yeah. Because they're like, I still can't get over it.
But before we get to that, Fua is actually the one who gives Arto a pep talk about like, hey, the human gear nearly killed me, but then they also saved me, so you're the president of the company, just do your job and make smarter human gear.
And to me is like the fact that that was kind of like nonchalantly done rather than just it didn't come across as like some like force character switch for him or anything else like that. It seemed legit, and the whole aspect of no, just teach your robots better, dude.
Yeah, it seemed legit, but also it seemed like Fuwa was talking more to Aruto as a friend rather than actually advocating the human gear and trying to cheer him up.
Right, like it comes across organically through like you said, like just them being close as friends or budding
Well,
friendship rather.
yeah, they're getting there.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nice how much character development Fu has gotten. I mean, like, he's turned into a really good secondary writer um, as the show's gone on. Like, Yua's kind of turned into complete shit, but, you know,
It would be
I'll
nice
take
to
the
get our
Fu
third.
boost while we can get it.
I want our third rider back.
Oh god. Like her this episode was like the worst because she like it feels like she has nothing going on. Like she's like, "Oh no, what? This is going on and that's happening?" Like everything catches her completely off guard. I'm like, she's supposed to be smarter than both of these idiots. Right? Like maybe not as smart as Thouser, right? Like in universe, who knows outside of universe like how smart quote unquote Thouser is, right? But um like she's supposed to be smarter than Fua and Aruto. Like basic stuff like this shouldn't be catching her off guard. Like she's just like wandering around like just a secretary now. Like it feels like the writers forgotten like how smart this character was, and it's kind of sad. I mean, like, yeah, she's not dead, but like she's barely doing anything. So like, fuck, man, I don't want a fucking repeat of Drive. Let's not do this again.
Um, so Fuwa gives Aruto a can of red bean soup. Was there a joke in there?
I don't know. I think it's maybe like Fu is acting like a tough guy and he got like either like alcohol or like straight black coffee and then he gave like Arto just like this kid drink. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a joke.
So like
I didn't see any.
I do remember that like when the series started, Aruto was seen wearing like a shirt that had some kind of pun on the back to do with friends or something. And so I was wondering if there was something like that here that we're missing or something.
Yeah, I feel that we're missing context.
It's fine. The internet will let us know by next week. I guess. Somebody will probably describe it. Maybe Twitter. We'll see. Or maybe Reddit. I don't know.
So now we get to the infamous part of this episode. Uh, After confronting the prosecutor about whether or not he's the monster, he says no. Bingo believes him. And then Thouser just starts verbally assaulting Bingo, and intentionally getting him all riled up so that he'll go berserk. And then fucking punches Aruto, and then pulls out one of the hacking belts from Metsubo Jinrai to straight up physically hack Bingo like they used to.
Damn it.
There's nothing with the arc, like wirelessly connecting them or anything with this. This was straight up in person.
Like, and to me, this is doubly problematic with everything because let's be real, there's no reason he should have had that. Like none. There's no excuse that they should be able to give for why he has it.
I mean, he used it last
Because
episode too.
I don't remember him using it last episode.
I think he did because like the whale. Oh no, he puts it on the construction. Yeah, last episode, the first construction guy. right? Because
Mm.
Whale Dude is tearing up the place, and then he shows up, and then it's like, oh, you saw it, and he just basically puts the belt on the construction robot and blows him the fuck up.
I don't think he did that in front of fucking Aruto and Izu, though.
Oh, he sure didn't do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
made
the
sense
part.
in there.
That's
Like
the
yeah,
part.
that's the point. That's the point. Is
Yeah,
like
here it's the stupidest fucking thing possible, right? And it's like, what are you doing, man? Like, there's no way you can deny this. I mean, like, technically they're in like lawyers' quarters, and it's like, what's one lawyer against another? Like, you can't, like, it just turns into hearsay. So, like, yeah, I guess you can say like, well, like he's kind of protected, but it's still bullshit. Like, it doesn't make sense why he would do it right there.
like it's asinine. Like
I mean, it makes sense why he would transform Bingo because, like, well, he can't turn into Thouser and beat the shit out of a human gear, like a regular looking one. Because people are like, what are you doing, Thouser? Like, everybody knows who he is, kind of, now. Like, you just see him beating the shit out of human gear, and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So he has to turn him into a monster, but, like, in front of everyone? That's just so stupid.
it's bad enough that he's done like the pushy aspect of it, like verbally pushing it to kind of like push
Well,
them
he's like a
push the
racist
human
prick
gears over the edge.
anyway.
Well, yeah,
So,
I
like,
mean, so was
like
Fua, but Fua
no,
at least
I
grew
know.
out of it.
Exactly, and like Bowser, like it seems like most of the time he's got it hidden until like he just kind of loses it and he goes off. Like maybe that's what they were going for, but I'm like there was no pressure on him to lose it. He was winning, right? You could say, oh well, the robot came to accuse this thing, but they won. His defense attorney, I mean, his prosecutor, perfectly lied and got away with it. It doesn't make any sense to show his hand. It's so stupid.
Like literally, is like if he does not get called out on this in the next episode, there's a
Like,
problem with
like
Aruto.
his whole thing is that the robot, like you're saying, the robots are going to go berserk eventually, and he is just showing off here, making an example of it. Like, hey, this is why robots are horrible. He just falsely accused a human of doing wrong. And now watch what happens when I call him out on it.
Yeah,
And then slap this special belt that I
Yeah,
shouldn't
and
have.
then
right. And
he
then
decided like, hey Arthur, you back this guy up, right? Because I'm just gonna fucking kill him for fun.
right, exactly. So that was like the stupidest fucking moment in this episode where it's like, again, like you said, where it's like, oh, if it was more written like Bowser is just demonstrating like Arto, you have too much faith in these damn robots. Like,
Yeah,
look at me, just push its buttons and like make it go out of control. That would have been a good moment. That's not what happened. Bowser
yeah,
just
he
turned
took
into
it
an
too
asshole.
far when he straight up hacked him himself.
Right, and it's like that's not an argument. You clearly damaged the machinery and then said, "Oh, look, it's a
Oh look,
dangerous
it's
machine." It's
broken.
like, right, like that's so stupid. Oh my god, like
I
fuck's
really,
sake.
I really wanted this to be the moment where Arto actually kicked Bowser's ass at least a little bit.
I mean, technically he tried, but Bowser kicked his ass super hard. This episode, kind of.
But
Um, also,
spoiler,
like,
go on.
yeah, I was gonna say going back to like the previous fight where it's like, oh look, it's the monster, and it has dynamite, and our two first and second day riders who've been in multiple battles just stand there while dynamite explodes underneath them. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck was that?
It,
That was
it
so
was just a
stupid.
little
God
comedic
damn.
moment while the monster runs away, because he was gonna run away. What I at some point might as well have a little fun with it.
Hey, I'm fine with it exploding, but it should have been like, oh shit, the monster tricked them and like launched the dynamite beforehand, and then like attacked them to distract them. And by the time they noticed it exploded, like perfectly would make sense, right? But this
Instead,
is
this
like
is we're
way
gonna
too
watch the
quick.
whole thing. Dude. It was like watching a
Fucking
fucking
Looney
episode
Tunes.
of Looney Tunes.
Right? That's exactly what I was
Did you
thinking
did
too.
you see the post I put in playlist?
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw it.
I didn't get a chance to.
Oh,
Oh my
watch it
god,
after
but
the
should we
podcast.
continue? Oh man.
But like, as much as that entire thing was just dumb, fuck, did that explosion look good?
Oh dude,
like,
like the smoke
like,
explosions that they started using since Ghost. Like fuck, those things look so good. Like
the to
there's
me,
this moment when they introduce them in Ghost when they're like attacking the cliffs, and you're like, oh, it's just gonna be the fire explosion. They'll be far away, nothing. No, they like the enemy like fucking blast the cliff. It explodes, and they're jumping through the explosion to like fight through it. I'm like, holy fuck, that is such a badass moment
like
in Ghost.
it sets it to look a lot better than what we would normally get through like how fights used to be, where oh well, I'm gonna launch missiles at somebody and they just happen to
It,
be blowing up 30 feet away from them, yet they're
yeah,
still
because it's
yet
fire,
the
right? We can't
explosion
do
is still
shit.
knocking them all over the place. And I'm like, this sets
Well,
up to where the explode the effect is literally going off mere feet away from them.
right. Like the most if we go back to the old fire stuff, like the closest it ever got was that fight with like Peridot when he's like in fighter form, where he's literally fucking throwing fire like 3 feet away from the actors, or I mean the suit actors. I'm like, holy shit, and we all freaked out. I was like, that's dangerous as all hell, right?
Right.
Um, all right, where the smoke explosion? One, it looks cool. Two, it's way more versatile because you can do shit like deflections, like DBZ style, like key deflections, and then it's like, oh, there's an attack, it got deflected, and then it still explodes, which you couldn't really do with the fire stuff because it always looks the same, right? And it costs way too much money, so it's like, well, it's always gonna look very safe and the same. Whereas
It's like,
like the
and we
smoke
like,
stuff, it looks so much more dramatic, especially because you can slow it the fuck down, and it looks so badass though.
and they can be angled differently, and because for the most part, anything fire is going straight up. Outside of a
Right.
flamethrower, it's going straight up. With
Yep.
this, is like you can launch because it's friggin' smoke. It's nothing but basically gray paint for to make it easy to anybody who watched slow mo guys on how this stuff works. It's basically just gray powder. That's all it is. On top of
Yeah.
us, on top of us, either a small
Us-
explosive
Yeah.
or something that's like a gas canister,
Yeah, that's true.
like a but like a for lack of a better term, potato launcher kind of thing. It's
Pretty
just
much.
packed in, hit it, and it just plumes up. And it'll plume whichever direction it's aimed, which is can set up for some amazing visuals. And I fucking love it. The closer the better, because I love it when things actually look like oh shit.
I mean, to be fair, like you can only get to certain closeness because there's still fucking explosion and shrapnel.
Well, that's what
So
I'm saying. Is
like,
like if they use the canister method,
yeah,
it's literally just oh you just shot me with air.
yeah. My
Don't
problem
open
always
your
becomes
mouth.
is like it's like shooting somebody with blanks. I'm like, blanks still kill people if you do it wrong, right? So I'm like, well, you can get pretty close, but like, you still gotta be careful. You know, it's still a damn explosion.
It's like, but like the closer they get, because of the way they're doing this stuff now, is like it sets the tension a little bit higher for things that actually look damaging.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like all the effects in this show, especially if you're like 21 episodes in, like they're still doing all the effects, like all the advanced ones too, like the speed lines and all that shit still going on. I'm like,
And they're still every once in a while doing this shitty gambarizing flight with the hawk.
yeah, fair enough. I
But
mean,
yeah, it's like with
it
they're still
pleased the
doing all of the effects. It's like the I think the only thing that they've really stopped doing is Fua's henshin of the Kamen Rider when he henshins the majority of the time.
yeah, I mean, like they've shortened the henshins, but that happens in like every show because like
Right, because they
those
all have
things
the quick
take too
henshin.
much time. Yeah. Honestly, like effects wise, the show's pretty solid. Like writing wise, it's slightly one. Like it's not bad. It's like
I like
it's
it.
hitting between like 80 to 90 consistently now, but it's like those like little things where it's like, what the fuck? Like if Bowser doesn't answer for what the fuck he just did, which he seems like he will, because like Arto actually gets pissed off, right? Because he's like, you're way too emotional
It,
when he
it,
kicks his ass,
based
right?
on the
Like, look at
one
you. No wonder you can't make robots to control their emotions. Like, you can't control yours. And then like his eyes light up red. So I'm like, oh, that's fucking building this shit.
like based on the one thing happening next episode, which we got in the preview, I sincerely think that Bowser is about to get his ass handed to him. If he doesn't, then what's coming is useless.
Yeah, I mean, it's also because like even in this fight, like Bowser's holding his own, but like just barely. Like it feels like he's hitting his limit, right? Like he's good, but like even he can't do like assault hopper and like one of the new monsters coming at him. Like he can win, but it's not like effortless, right? Like he's not Kabutoing it for God's sakes, right? Like even like he has to try. Like you can feel that, um, which is kind of cool, but it also means that like it this has to be building to something because like Bowser's strong, but like it doesn't feel like he can last because honestly, I feel like he might last till like maybe the fourth round or fifth round. Probably gonna be the fight, unless the fight happens next episode, in which case it'll be interesting.
So, did you see the next episode preview, Zero?
I saw parts of it. I didn't see like all of it.
Do you want me to tell you the part that you missed?
Sure.
Metal Cluster Hopper debuts next week.
Oh god damn it. I mean, I guess it makes sense. 21 episodes. That's I kind of
Actually, and
inferred
I
that.
thought it was going to be the final challenge where this form made its debut.
Yeah, it doesn't like. I guess it makes sense that like Arto needs it now because like Bowser just kicked his ass like twice at least.
Well, like, I
Um,
wasn't expecting them to fight every single episode. After that first fight, with the first challenge, I thought that they weren't going to have their actual rematch until the fifth challenge. But no, they've been fighting every single episode since.
yeah, that's a good point. And like Bowser has been winning, so like maybe this is the beginning of like the change where it's like, oh, well, he can't win three in a row because therefore he wins by default. So like Arto's gonna get this win, and I guess that's a good point because like otherwise it'd be like way too one sided. It's gonna be interesting anyway. As also like holy shit, man, the monster designs, like all the damn suits are so nice in this show, right? Like compared to some of the other years. Like
Like
I don't know what the fuck Toei did, but like production wise, like everybody seems to have gotten their shit together, right?
that premium Bandai site's paying off for him.
Well, I don't, maybe, but like I don't think Bandai gives them that much money.
But because ignoring the fact that the original monster suits, the Human Gear monster suits, are being reused, we have new forms for each rider. Arto has a crap ton of them, and then we also have Dodo having 3 different suits. Even though it was let's just alter the suit each time,
Yeah, pretty much.
and then you have all the Raid Riser suits. Like,
Like,
this is the most dedication we've seen to like suit creation that we've seen beyond just for the monsters of the week, whereas like this is borderline like Ryuki dedication to making suits look different.
oh god, yeah, it's true. Also, it's because like okay, the monster that showed up, like they've made the company that makes the rider suits have made so many suits at this point. Like especially, I mean, like post decade stuff, right? Like that's clearly just the O's, Predator head dude, right? Like clearly with the dreadnoughts and everything, except just black and purple this time. It's a nice color scheme and all. But it's it's just like kit bashing now. They're like, oh, we can take the head from this one and like the arms and the chest armor from that one. Like they've made so many suits that they can just like throw it together, which is great. Because it's giving the show like a real consistency in suits. The problem is like none of the monsters are memorable. Like they look nice, but they don't have a story worth shit, right? Like, does anybody remember anything? Like, think about some of the other shows where it's like, oh shit, this monster, right? Like it's important. Like Double, especially. Like you remember the fucking monster,
Excuse me.
right? Um,
I remember
Wizard,
the creepy weather dopant.
dude, Weather Dopant's got such an interesting story. Um,
Um,
His storyline was a little rapey.
a little.
kind of. I mean, yeah, it was fucked up. I'll give you that, but it's really interesting because like you finally got fucking what's her name? The older sister who like finally got more character development. I'm like, that's interesting. How they threw it in, and I mean, like it ties into Terui's backstory and stuff too. So it's like, 3 for 1. Why not? Um,
Can I just say though that like
yeah.
we're seeing all these like would-be forms, rider forms that are being used by the monsters of the weeks, yet no one is getting any new power-ups except for Aruto, who's getting the one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like since a Cell Topper showed up, like they stalled in the forms, and honestly, I'm fine with that because like most of the basic rider forms get tossed aside anyway, right? Like who
Well,
cares?
I get that. And normally I feel like we're given more forms than we need, which is the
Mhm.
case with Aruto. But what about Fuwa and Yua?
I mean, technically, Fu already has an upgrade, and it's pretty solid because he doesn't fight that much, and it's enough for the monsters of the week. Yua definitely needs one, but then again, Yua hasn't done anything,
That's my point. Why hasn't
right?
Yua done anything in for fucking ever? The last time she did something, she got her ass kicked by Fuwa.
Yeah, which was bullshit too. Like I felt like Yua should have been winning that fight until like Fua used his power up, and then Thouser should have shown up, and that would have been a better setup. But like Fua just won because he's better at fighting. But I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But like Yua's supposed to be like way smarter than his ass, so like, yeah, it's weird. Anyway, yeah, that was a little weird, but you're right. That's the last time she did anything useful. I mean, I guess being alive is an accomplishment, but like having a female writer live and keep doing stuff is more important than just living. We've had female characters make it to
Yeah,
the end. That's not an accomplishment, um,
yeah,
right? Like, I don't know. I mean, sp- okay. Hopefully, Thouser gets his ass kicked, and then like Yua has to come back into the fray because he's like, well, fuck, I'm just going out there solo. Like, I can't keep beating up like Arto and Fua and the monsters, right? Like, it's just kind of getting too much. And then we tie back into the thing of like, you know how Thouser said like, oh, let's make your legacy or whatever, trying to make like Yua this like guardian of the people type thing for like PR and shit. Like maybe that's gonna come back into the fold. Like that would be nice. Who the fuck knows if that's gonna happen or not? Um, I mean, honestly, I just want her to make her own damn power up because she's full of sick of everybody's shit at this point.
right.
But like, who knows what's gonna happen?
Okay. So thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back on Tuesday for more Ryu Soldier. That show is almost at an end. And next Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Zero-One. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Sorry.
Okay. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.